Hi, welcome to Real Charlotte Living, a podcast about Charlotte area lifestyle, business, and real estate. I'm your host, Kamilah Peebles Brathwaite, and today we're filming at this beautiful Lake Norman property, and our guest is inside. Let's go meet him.
Hey Kamilah, how are you?
Hi, great. How
Welcome
are
to
you,
Japan.
Tyler? Thank you.
Absolutely. Excited to show you around.
Yes, I can't wait to take a
Come on
look.
in.
Today, I'm here with my guest, Tyler Aunon, with TGA Renovated, specializing in commercial and residential construction and renovations. Tyler, welcome to Real Charlotte Living.
Thank you for having me. Really excited.
Thank you. I was so glad to have the opportunity to meet with you and learn more about your business, and I'm looking forward to our audience getting to know you a little bit more.
Like I said, really appreciative of the opportunity, and I think this will be very exciting.
Fantastic. Tyler, before we get started, I always like for the audience to kind of get to know my guests. So tell us a little bit about your background, how you got started, and how you ended up here as CEO of TGA Renovated.
Yeah, more so even in North Carolina.
Yeah.
We end up here, right? So I was born and raised in Washington, D.C. and Virginia. Honestly, growing up, did not know what I wanted to do. My dad's a dentist. My brother is now a dentist as well.
Okay.
So kind of wild. You would think that I would go down the dentist route, right?
Yes.
But in reality, I watched a surgery when I was working for my dad. I nearly fainted.
Yes.
So I knew that was not the route
that
for
would be
me.
me too.
So it was great. So got some experience in the dental world, but knew it wasn't for me. And being a Cuban background, it was always our family's motto that no matter what you do, try to strive to be the best in it.
Okay.
So I knew I liked being hands-on.
Okay.
I was really inspired by my mom, who was a real estate agent.
Okay.
She was selling a lot of houses, but she also helped people to design houses,
Yes.
as well as kind of design the house that we were living in. So I got really involved in that process, and I really started liking it a lot.
Okay.
Also at a young age, my grandma owned a toy store.
Okay.
So Legos was all we did.
That was your jam.
That was my jam. Yeah, that's all we did. So I liked the part or the feeling of stepping back and being able to look at something that you completed and that satisfaction.
Yes.
And I knew that brought a little bit of passion.
Okay.
So I was kind of off at that point to chase that. So growing up, played lacrosse, but that helped to kind of get into school. But I knew when I got into college that I wanted to do something of an engineering type background.
Okay.
So first went to Georgetown. Learned actually very quick that they did not have an engineering program.
Okay.
But that was actually more because lacrosse kind of led me that path.
Okay.
But then once I started restructuring really my goals for the future, that kind of led me towards the Delaware route, where I ended up University of Delaware as a civil engineer with a structural engineering background. They also had a program there through Whiting Turner, which allowed me to go to school and work at Whiting Turner.
Okay.
So that was really nice to get me hands-on with building ground-up student living facilities,
Okay.
which was great.
So kind of like an apprenticeship.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, in a way. It was kind of awesome because Delaware allowed us to do schooling at night.
Okay.
So during the day, we could get real-world experience.
I love that.
Yeah, and it was a really unique opportunity that I'm really happy I capitalized on. So when I was with Whiting Turner, I was doing the base build, right? But I wanted more engagement, more interaction, like social interaction with owners.
Okay.
And I also wanted a higher frequency of projects because I really wanted to see as many people as I could. I wanted to get as much experience as I could. And so that's what kind of led me to the interiors renovation world,
Okay.
which was a lot of fun.
Okay.
So after Whiting Turner, I graduated and I switched companies to a company called Gilbane.
Okay.
And at the time they were starting an interiors department in Washington, D.C. And I knew that was the exact place where I really wanted to try to, learn the interiors world.
Okay.
Because you're really hands-on all the way from estimating all the way to closing the project
All
out.
right.
So that was really exciting for
Really
me at
getting
the
your
time.
hands in there.
Yeah, and I wanted to, I really, really wanted to. So I was doing in Washington, D.C. when I first started. I graduated from Delaware, moved to Washington, D.C., back kind of hometown where we grew up. and was able to do Department of Defense, Department of Justice, Virginia Tech Lab Space, Wells Fargo Corporate Center. So I was getting my hands real dirty.
Major projects.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I met a lot of people, and I think what was driving the passion for me, or what I was searching for, I found in that interiors world, which was kind of nice. You know, kind of like a validation in a way, which was kind of awesome. With the success that was being had in DC, I had an opportunity to transfer from DC up to New York City in the construction world. Stayed with Gilbane, but I did Saks Fifth Avenue Level 2, a lot of high-end lobby renovations. And then I got poached from a company called Achilles, and their business model was to essentially purchase buildings in New York and just fully renovate them from top to bottom for a long-term investment play. We were brought in as a construction side to create a construction company within this real estate management company. So that was a really eye-opening experience to what it takes to actually start something from nothing, which was kind of interesting. From
and then
there,
watch it grow.
Exactly, yeah. And that was the really cool part, is like we started with, it was 5 of us, and then we ended up growing the company out a lot to the point of, we were purchasing a building what felt like every month with multiple capital improvement projects going on. And we were the ones that were bidding the work, meeting the contractors, money flow throughout the project, focusing on schedule and delivering so that we could get a renter in there to start generating income in the building. So it was a really cool thing to see from A to Z, the whole process, from a business perspective and from a construction perspective. So that provided me a lot of experience. And then of course, with it being New York City, I got poached again. So ended up with a company named DBI, and it was my portfolio was an international study abroad program, which was a really unique experience, and I feel like it taught me a lot that, how different countries do construction. Which was a really awesome experience that, in my opinion, was once in a lifetime for at least what I was doing. So I went to Rome. I built a school in Rome, helped out with a school in Buenos Aires, was doing before I left, was doing a payment performance bond claim in Japan, which was really cool. And then the final project at DBI, before kind of thinking of doing my own thing, we did the first cross-laminated timber building in Boston, right on the seaport area. And what that means is that, similar to the house that we'll walk around later, we had beams about this size behind your head that would be the main structure instead of metal, as well as engineered decking made of similar beam type material. And it was kind of put together like a Lego. So it's kind of full circle. But that was a great experience. But it also kind of opened my eyes to what can I do to try to do this on my own? Right? So when we were living in New York City is an amazing place, but it's wild. We knew that we wanted a little bit of a change, but we didn't know where. So at the time, I had some rental properties down here in Charlotte because, again, learned from my mom, it's a growing area, do the analysis. It was a very safe investment, right? And it still is to date, it's just pretty awesome. But I bought some properties down here. That's when I created TGA Renovated in 2018. And we created TGA Renovated just mostly to have some investor money that would be able to look at the company and say, I trust that you're going to flip it. You're using your company. You're a qualified and licensed general contractor. You're not just hiring some random person.
Well qualified.
I appreciate that. But we're not just hiring some random person to come in and say, I have this great investment idea. Here's Joe Schmo that hopefully will, stand by his word and do the job for us, right? So it allowed me to kind of start the company slowly while up in New York City. From there, a lot of real estate agents were selling the houses that we were buying, or some houses that I've just renovated and flipped. And they were like, hey, can you help us with the clients that we have? You're doing great work, you're responsive, we really appreciate kind of like the skills, or I wouldn't say skills, more of like the communication skills, or is probably the better way to put it, that you're bringing to the table. And so I said, let's try it. Yeah. So we started doing a lot of work, kind of slowly, organically grew from there, to who we are today. So now we have a service side that manages the construction, like handyman type stuff, for 184 neighborhoods. We also have 86 commercial neighborhoods or commercial Class A office space that we manage the service for. On the construction side, we do everything on construction residential, we do everything from renovation to custom new home builds. And we now have a 10-person employee team that's involved with that. And then on our commercial side, we really just focus on fit outs of existing spaces or additions onto existing spaces. But we've done restaurants, dental offices, coffee shops, gym space, office space. That's my baby. I love the commercial side. But we've generated this amazing team that's run by Matt Gallagher, who is just a residential expert. And so he shares with me the same qualities that we try to instill throughout the whole company. And that's proper communication, standing by that if we make a mistake, we will correct it and make it 100% right. But also giving people a different feel of the construction process. We don't want people to hire us and be like, oh, I just hired another person that has that stigma of not answering the phone or like giving a bad experience for the construction process. We like to talk through everything, and we like to also be able to give the project back to you and say, we enjoyed our time with you, and thank you so much for the opportunity, and for you to actually say that was actually a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it was a great experience.
Exactly, and that's what we really tried to instill in our company.
As you've been sharing, there are a couple of things that stood out to me. One is I'm a big believer in our vocation is not just a job, it's a calling. And for me, what I do, I believe it's a calling. I can't imagine doing anything else. And there are different things in my life that kind of, brought me to this path.
Absolutely.
And so I loved hearing your story about how, your dad was a dentist, your brother was a dentist, but you figured out you weren't wired that way. There was something different about you. And I love that. And then just seeing, once we find what our calling is, just how I feel it just naturally begins to flourish for us because we're not working against something unnatural.
Absolutely.
Or trying to fit into something. And kudos to your lovely parents that I met a little while ago for letting you, pursue that path.
Oh, yeah.
To that. Yeah. And then the other point that you mentioned was just, how you got started and you were working with different realtors. We are always on the hunt for, quality people, good communication. And so how that kind of helped grow your business. So one of the things, if you could share with us, what sets TGA Renovated apart from working with your typical construction company?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a really good question, which we get asked a lot.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that we try to, and again, construction is very black and white in nature, right? Like we've been building the same way, really, that we've done back in the 1800s to what we do now. Just the material has changed. But the overall processes have relatively stayed the same. That's why if you look at it from like a statistic standpoint, construction is the only industry that hasn't really been heavily changed or transformed by technology because it is hands-on, black and white, right? So there's not much technology that we can implement. There's only so much that sets us apart or kind of puts us on the same level as everyone else, right? So where you set yourself really apart is that communication or that people skills or what might be considered normal in like a white collar job where you're constantly giving updates where here's the schedule, here's what we're doing, how can we help you save money? So we approach it as if we were talking to a family member. We don't if we don't believe that it's something that someone should be doing in their house, we tell them, hey, how about we look at it this way? It'll save you $5,000.
Yes.
You know,
that sounds great.
Exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's the little stuff like that. But to your point, bringing in person skills or people skills that just say, hey, you know, we're going to look out for you. Like, if we see another way to do it, we're going to present it, and we're just happy to do the job.
Yeah.
Like, whether we make a ton of money off you or not, we just give upfront and honest pricing all the time, so that we just focus on how can we do the best job for you.
Okay.
Not like, oh, I'm going to make so much money here, so much money there.
Yeah.
That's just not how we operate. You know, we want to give a client experience first,
Yes.
and make sure that we can deliver a good project to you, for that kind of initial feeling that I said of stepping back and we're just taking pride in, we built this.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what keeps us in really nice neighborhoods, is like, you don't have the stigma of, oh, I live in a nice house. Every contractor that's going to price something for me is just going to send me the lake pricing.
Yeah.
You know, and we hear that all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, no, like, whether you live in a really nice mansion or a standard house that's around Charlotte, like, you're going to get honest pricing throughout the whole process. And being able to look out for that, for, like, you know, through the estimating process.
Okay.
And being able to advise people through the pre-construction process, like, hey, we're going to sit here with you. We're going to design it on paper.
Okay.
But it's easier to change things on paper than to get halfway through a construction project and then say, oh, we actually knew this was going to happen, but it's another chance for a change order, right?
Yeah.
So we just like to really simplify the construction process.
Okay.
And that's like a long-winded answer. So I think that's how we kind of are a little different.
You have integrity in your process, is what it
We
sounds
just
like.
try to be real people.
Yeah.
You know, just
Yeah.
real people looking out for other people.
Yeah.
You know, business is business, yes, but there's no reason to take someone for more than what they should be spending than actually giving them a good project and a good experience.
I think one of the, and I can say personally from my own experience, was one of the frustrations can be timelines.
Yes.
And expectations.
Yes.
And contractors saying, oh yeah, we're going to start, you know, we'll take this job.
Yes.
And we're going to start on X day. And a month later, you're still waiting. And, you know, 2 months later, you're still waiting for them to finish. So how do you manage timelines and set expectations and deliver what you promise?
Yeah. We talk about this every day as a company, so it's so funny that you bring this up now. We just had a meeting talking more about it. Scheduling is always transforming, right? However, when we start a project, like if we're there starting demo on day one, we make sure and we work with the client beforehand that all the materials that need to be gathered are on site, and that make sure that nothing's really back ordered, because there's nothing worse than getting halfway through a project and someone saying, oh, actually this is not here, right? Because then ultimately you're leaving something open that is not going to be closed out until that material arrives. So part of our process is we make sure that all of the materials that are affiliated with that job are accessible or on site. And that helps a lot with efficiency and schedule, so that we know now, okay, we're doing a bathroom, it's going to take us 3.5 weeks. So that allows us to kind of schedule accordingly. It also helps from our company standpoint that we use all certified, all licensed trades in our company. So it's not me and 2 other guys with a hammer fixing things or putting things up. You know, we keep efficiency in our projects by allowing the people that are certified and licensed to partner with us to keep everything going streamlined, along with all our carpenters and such that keep everything organized, clean, you know, project cleanliness and safety throughout for the existing conditions. But it's that efficiency that allows us to really give an accurate estimated time frame to you. The only time that we really push a job is if it's like some slow duration in the permitting process from the county that we can't really change.
You have no control. Unfortunately.
Unfortunately. But that's when, like, you know, we set that expectation, and it kind of goes full circle to communication. You know, like if someone is informed, hey, your stuff isn't permitting. It's just taking Mecklenburg a little bit longer. Let's realistically look at this time frame. As long as you're keeping people updated on realistic expectations and not surprising them at the end. Oh, by the way, you know, we're supposed to start today, but we actually pushed you 3 weeks because X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
That's just not fair,
Yeah.
right? So we try to really take pride in communication throughout. Like once we know, you know. You
Yeah.
know, if we can start on the date that we tell you, we're going to be
Yeah.
there. But if something outside of our control happens, then we will make sure that the second that out of control thing does happen, that you're notified.
Yeah.
And I think that's what helps us to really keep the schedule.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if there's any perfect process, anyone out there, well, we're here to
Yeah.
we're here to listen too, you know. But we try our best to communicate.
Yeah. I don't think there is a perfect process, especially when you're, there are so many moving parts when you're dealing with construction and renovation, things like that. So.
Absolutely. Like you don't know if the wall that you open up all of a sudden is just completely deteriorated,
Yes.
you know, and we've run into that.
Expect the unexpected, I would
Without
say.
a question.
Yeah.
And when we talk to people through their project, because when we do walkthroughs, that is something that's brought up. Like, what happens if this occurs?
Yeah.
Like, we're going to be screwed.
Yeah.
But in reality, because we have a large team and a large pool of people that partner with us or are directly employed by us, we are able to get to things very quickly.
Okay.
So it mitigates the downtime.
Yes.
And we're able to, if it's in our control and we can do it right away, it'll be done.
Okay.
You know, and that helps people finish their jobs, but from a selfish standpoint, that helps us keep an efficient schedule so that we can go on to the next one.
Okay.
So that's how we try to do it.
My next question for you is, I feel like getting into the fun stuff.
I love it. I love it.
So what are you, as someone who's, you've got your hands in this day in and day out, you have a strong pulse on the market and what clients are asking for and what the trends are. What do you see as some of the, I guess, the biggest trends in renovations and new construction, whether it's, features or design?
Oh yeah. I think the biggest trend that we're seeing right now, given the way that interest rates are, is conversion of attic space, which in North Carolina is massive attic space.
Yes. You want to put your Christmas tree up there, or whatever.
You can move your whole family
or
up
all
there.
your kids'
I feel
clothes
at some
and
point.
everything. Yeah.
Exactly. But that's been a really big push lately.
Okay.
Is hey, interest rates are not great. We don't want to move, but how can we make this space more efficient to capture against the square footage of our house?
Okay.
And that's the biggest thing too. Is when we're guiding people, we give them a calculated investment. Like, hey, you're looking to add 200 square feet onto your house through an attic, right?
Yes.
Your neighborhood is selling for $325 a square foot.
Yeah.
For us to do the construction is $150 a square foot, let's say, depending on what they want. That'll vary. But we also try to provide the client with a statistical reason of this will be a good investment for you.
Yes.
Because yes, you're spending this amount up front, but look what you just added on an equity perspective to your house.
I love that.
And so that is really like a different way to approach things. But that's a very popular scope.
Okay.
We always have kitchens and bathrooms.
Okay. Yes.
All day long.
Yeah.
And
hey, that's where the money is.
hey, it's nice.
It's the money that you put in, but you also get the biggest thing out of it as well.
We have a loose metric. Like for kitchens, the money you put in, you'll get that plus double.
Yeah.
For bathrooms, it's almost triple.
Yeah.
Which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So it's a great investment. I really love when people find some inspiration on Pinterest and allows us to kind of do some different characteristic.
Okay. I was scrolling through your website in the gallery, and there was like this plum colored kitchen. I was like, that is really bold. I would love to know the person that owned that house, but it's in a world of, it's mostly white kitchens or maybe like a light green or a blue, but I thought that it really caught my attention. So
she was an amazing client.
Yeah.
And when I will admittedly, when she first presented, I said, wow, like, that is going to be exotic.
Yeah.
But walking the space now, and like the really cool part is walking the space and seeing her reaction to the space that we built when like she stood by her design and stood by what she really
She knew
loved.
what she wanted.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and it was stunning.
Yeah.
I will say the end product was very cool, very unique, and it ultimately was exactly what she wanted.
What
and
she
that's
envisioned.
what exactly, and that's what made it very special. Is like, you know, and also taking videos of it, I was like, no one ever is going to have this, but it's unique to you. It's unique to your design.
Yeah.
And she brought in a lot of like natural stone elements and stuff that really made it really unique space. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. But seeing her reaction to the end product was worth every bit of it for sure.
The attic, what are people doing? Is it a bonus room? What are they using the attic for?
Yeah, we've seen a mixture of office space because it's a lot of work from home.
Yep. Okay.
We've seen that. We see a lot of additional bonus room space. Okay. We've done movie theaters.
Okay.
We've done additional gym space.
Okay.
It's the way that I like to say it. It's more of like a flex space for the house, right? Because attics are always kind of off in this little area of no man's land.
Yeah.
But when we incorporate them back into the house, it's like an additional wing that was ultimately, you know, they've visualized X for their house, right? And whatever that is, that's the filler.
Yeah.
Is that attic?
Whatever they're missing. That's what that room becomes.
Exactly. Like we're starting another one on Monday that is just to really provide less of an awkwardness to a room and to make it feel larger so that down the line they can have the flexibility to do whatever they want there. But also they saw it from an investment standpoint too. You know, the area is growing, that's going to add equity back. It's just this weird little area. Why not just do it now? Also, outdoor living has been a lot lately.
Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite trends.
Yes, and why not? I mean, especially now.
Especially if you've got a beautiful lake view
that
you do here.
That is true. That is definitely a perk for sure. But you know, in North Carolina, we have stunning weather.
Yeah.
Yes, the summers can get very hot, and then you have like your 2-week very cold period in the winter, right?
I tell people winter here is about a month.
Exactly. It's not bad. And every other time you want to be outside. Yeah. So that's been very popular is 3 seasons rooms, screened in porches, you know, just again pushing and maximizing the setback so that it can have a nice livable square footage.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of like retaining walls to actually build up grades so that they can have functional space on like those weird plots that you know feel like you're on a cliff face.
Yes.
So we've done a lot of those lately as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's been great because you know every house, especially around North Carolina, you have your cookie cutter, but you also have your unique custom build. Yes. And tying into that is what makes our job exciting. Yeah. You know, what's going to be the next project, you know?
How are we going to solve this problem?
Oh, yeah. And in construction...
What are we going to do with this?
Exactly. And in construction, every project you will come up against something that is unique to that specific house that you might have not ever seen before. Yeah. But having those resources to rely on in our company is like, hey, we're fine. We got it, which is kind of cool too.
I love that. What... let's see, what design or renovation mistakes do you see people make?
I love this question. So my personal design is simplicity, but including natural elements that create a softness, but then bringing out some of like the uniqueness through some fixtures or something along those lines. A lot of people right now are really stuck on, I want farmhouse. I want white stark. And we do a ton of it. Like, don't get me wrong, because the client is the driver at the end.
If you want it, you'll have it.
Exactly, 100%. But you do have that, you know, we present options to people as well. Like, hey, have you thought about this?
I love that.
And I think it's because a lot of people, again, like, if you throw me into the tech industry, I'll be like clueless. I have no idea, right?
Well, it's like walking someone into an empty property. Exactly. And sometimes people don't have, you know, we use stagers a lot because sometimes people don't have the imagination to envision what this could be. So it's great that you're able to say, Okay, I know you really like modern farmhouse, but have you thought about this?
Yeah, just like one little added touch
Yeah.
so that you can actually like bring a uniqueness or like some character in.
Okay.
You know, avoid the starkness, bring some character
Yeah.
in. But that's, you know, that's mostly like what we see a lot of,
Okay.
that we try to guide people away.
Yeah.
You know, you also see a lot of new home builders, because statistically, if someone walks into a white outhouse,
Yes.
they are, in their mind, they allow themselves to picture what it could be.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Whereas if someone adds some character elements to it, tasteful character elements
Yes.
to it, you also have that sense of, here's what I can envision for this house.
Yes.
But the character elements actually get people very excited about the space. And that comes through either natural elements,
Okay.
natural stone, light fixtures.
Okay.
You know, something that's unique in the space,
Okay.
and not just, in a lack of a better way to say it, sterile.
Yeah. It gives it some form of identity
Exactly.
to start with.
So, like, I mean, I guess an even better example is when we flip houses, right? We'll go from top to bottom, making sure that there's zero that shows up on the inspection report, that the house is 100% efficient, 100%, you know, performing at its maximum capability.
Okay.
But we will also new paint on the walls. We'll
Yeah.
change out all of the light fixtures to something unique and or something either modern or something that carries a softness to it,
Okay.
depending on what the space that kind of allows for.
Yeah.
And then we'll sand and refinish the form. So when someone comes in, they're like, wow, okay, this feels clean, it looks modern. And we also do the kitchen and bathroom, but that's kind of like a little cheat code in there
Yeah.
if we really need to do it. But like you're taking stuff off of someone's to-do list.
Yes.
Like if they walk into a nasty house, they're gonna be like, I have to clean.
This is all the work that I have to do.
Exactly.
Yes.
And no one
So I
wants
tell
a
my
to-do
sellers
list.
all the time, like,
Without a question.
you're creating roadblocks. We want to remove all the roadblocks.
Exactly. That is the best way to put it. And people do think through that.
Yeah.
You know, that's how any normal person operates.
Yeah.
You know, even myself. Like,
Yeah.
I got a to-do list. Like, great. Okay,
Yeah.
here we go. But yeah, those little things are something that we like to recommend that are very inexpensive, but really just comes through personal taste or
Okay.
some form of inspiration that they might have not seen in
Okay.
the past.
Okay. Well, I know that you are currently renovating this house.
Yes.
And so I'd love for you to, just point out a few things that you think might be of interest or helpful for people to know,
Of course.
if that's all right with you.
Yeah, let's
Okay,
do it.
let's do
I'm
it.
excited. Let me show you some things that when we walk through projects with people that they
Okay.
might not understand,
Okay.
especially when it comes to a kitchen, because this is where a lot of money can be spent,
Yes.
but there's always more cost-effective options in order to do it.
Okay, I
so
love that.
a lot of things when we walk through people, the first thing that we'll go through is, do you guys like your existing storage?
Okay.
Because similar to how this house is, you really don't have a lot of flexibility when it comes to modifying the existing storage for
Yeah.
the space. So it's something that, with it being maximized now,
Okay.
what are you drawn to that you don't like?
Okay.
Right? In this instance, when we were doing this kitchen, these used to be a very like beigey cream color.
Okay.
So it was the draw to this that people did not like at all.
Okay.
And so that's when we, so we use a catalyzed paint on this.
Okay.
It's similar
What is
as
a catalyzed
Yeah,
paint?
so it's similar to like if you buy professional furniture, it hardens a lot firmer.
Okay.
So it can withstand scratching, it can be wiped down.
Okay.
It doesn't have the tackiness of like a Sherwin-Williams paint.
Okay.
But it also saves the clients tons of money because all of this new as a custom cabinetry would be like 50 grand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas if you paint it with catalyzed paint and you paint it properly, you're looking at like 7 grand.
Okay.
So you see a massive
That's
amount of
a
savings.
massive difference, yeah.
Exactly.
And the return on that
is huge.
is significant. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And these also used to have very ornate handles
Okay.
and everything along those lines. So in order to get the new handles on, it just changes fully the
Okay.
aesthetic. One other thing that we changed here is adding more character into it.
Okay.
So we kept the same carcasses, but for the doors that have the hatching in it,
Okay.
those were doors that we swapped out and we put the hatching.
Okay, I like that.
So you create some height, but you also create some uniqueness to the
So
space.
You give it some interest and focal point.
Exactly.
I like that.
So the only new cabinetry that you would be buying is really just a couple of doors,
Okay.
right? With massive savings.
Wow.
You know? So that's something. And
Yes.
then when we go through here, you know, it's typical when you're doing any kitchen, countertop, backsplash, you know, making maybe another feature backsplash with a pot filler.
Yeah.
But adding like little touches that all kind of go together to create the main vision of what someone wants in their space.
Okay.
So
Without having to gut the whole thing and start from scratch.
Exactly. So, I mean, the crazy part is like this tile, for example, right? We have a lot of different distributors for tile.
Okay.
But something simplistic like this, we got this at Lowe's.
Okay.
Which some people might not expect when walking into a house like this.
Yeah.
Right? But I can get the same tile from a different distributor for $6 more a square foot.
Okay.
But it's going to look the same.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of people, you know, we allow them to use our distribution channels to find the best deal.
Okay.
So that, you know, it's the aesthetic that you're
Yes.
drawn to. It's
Yeah.
not the actual material.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. At the end of the day, this isn't holding up the house.
Exactly.
And the main purpose of this is aesthetic appeal.
Aesthetic appeal.
So-
Yeah. And so if I didn't tell you it was from Lowe's, you probably would have never guessed
No.
that walking into here. You know? So
And
that's,
most people don't care. Never
No.
had a client say, I wonder where they got this backsplash from.
yeah, they pop
You
out
know?
a tile and read the back, you know? They would never do that. Other than that, I mean, they wanted to add a little bit more character into the space. And so that's where you see the different color in the island versus the white surround.
Yes.
You know, because this is typical of what a lot of people like.
Yes.
White on white.
Yes.
With some gold accenting.
Yes.
Right? So it's like, how do you bring some characteristic into the space?
Okay.
And that's through like maybe changing the color of the island.
Yes.
Making it its own feature. You know, these were the original countertops for this island.
Okay.
And so in the original aesthetic, it was very, very ornate. It was very like, why would you do this,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
But when you modernize it a little bit, you have a really nice component that can supplement.
Okay.
And it actually stands out a little bit more now. Yes, it does still have the ornate
I was like,
cut.
it still has its, you know,
Yeah, but-
beveled.
Exactly. But like when you first walked into here, when it was all beige, you would
Yeah.
see that and you'd be like, that is terrible.
Yes.
But now that everything is kind of more modernized,
Yes.
it looks like it's bringing more character into
Yeah.
the space.
Yeah.
And you also save with a slab like this up to probably $3,000 to $4,000.
Yeah.
So that was more into your pocket as well, you know? So it's just tasteful ideas in order to kind of create that end image for you.
Yes.
Could we have done this all custom?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we do it all the time as
Yeah.
well. But we do like to provide alternates for people.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
But other than that, this is the kitchen space.
Okay.
Let's show you the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bathrooms we do all the time.
Okay.
Right. And so I walk probably close to 7 bathrooms a week
Oh,
for
wow.
what people want to do.
Okay.
And from my perspective, the way that we look at bathrooms is how can we maximize the space to make it feel larger.
Okay.
And as you can probably tell, this is usually culprit one,
Yes.
right? Gotta go, you know?
Yes.
But a lot of times it's also telling someone, this is massive.
Yes.
You know, this space is a large space, but it's being ultimately taken up by this.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, especially trend-wise, they want to get rid of tubs.
Okay.
Like people don't even use tubs
Yes.
really anymore,
Yeah.
right? And if they do, it's more of like an accent fixture to the whole room.
Yes.
So a nice freestanding tub with a filler.
Yeah.
People just love to have that in the corner.
It's a beautiful, expensive piece of
Accessory.
decor. Yeah.
Exactly, 100%. But the nice part about that is, logistically, you will save almost 1.5 to 2 feet of
Yes.
room.
Without all of
Exactly,
this.
all
Yeah.
the build out,
Okay.
which gives the versatility of like if you wanted a bench, if you wanted something that is unique, as in like a larger pan,
Okay.
the drain somewhere else, linear drain. We fabricate those custom.
Okay.
But a lot of times in houses, those pans are kind of similar to the material of this.
Okay.
It's like an acrylic or it's something that is just made 4 foot by 4 foot or
Yeah.
a set dimension. And a lot of the times that's the driver of the space for the bathroom shower.
Okay.
So when we remove that, we typically can make the shower 4 square foot, 3 square foot larger.
Bigger, yes.
Which sounds small, but if you go from a 12 square foot shower, even just to a 14 square foot shower,
Yeah. You
that
feel
feels
all around you.
100%.
You've got more room.
Without
Yeah.
a question.
Yeah. Okay.
As you can tell in this bathroom, you're pretty much set of like, this is the most efficient space for a vanity.
Yeah.
Because you're not gonna throw a tub
You can't do
here.
the shower's not gonna go there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we like to say, okay, let this be the driver.
Okay.
Now where can we manipulate other things,
Okay.
right? If someone's on a budget, then we can say, well, why don't we change out the accent pieces?
Okay.
Maybe let's look to change the 2x2 tiles.
Okay.
Let's look to see if we can brighten it up. And instead of having the brown accents that are pulling out the brown tones,
Yeah.
we maybe introduce some form of white or
Okay.
something along those lines that starts pulling more of the lighter tones
color.
out. Look, we use all synthetic waterproofing.
Okay.
The standard is cement board. You throw it in the lake, it comes out like a little mush.
Okay.
Synthetic, you throw it in the lake, you come out, it's still very rigid.
Okay.
And so that protects the house.
Okay.
So from a liability perspective, but also from wanting to give someone the best product.
Quality. Yeah.
Yeah, we always do synthetic because we know it'll be the healthiest thing for your house.
Okay.
Other than that, the little things that I look at is stuff that we can anticipate that we're probably going to have to repair.
Okay.
In reality, something like that will not change the price of the project.
Okay.
And
Okay.
some people look at that and they'd be
They're
concerned.
like, oh my gosh.
They're terrified,
Yeah.
right? But in reality, that's some drywall, which we're
Okay.
already gonna have to redo. Someone will be like, oh man, that's gonna be an extra $5
Yeah.
grand, right?
Yeah.
But that's not honest.
Yeah.
Don't be worried about that.
Yeah.
It'll be done by the time we do all this. That's nothing.
That's gonna go away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's kind of stuff that we look for in the master bathroom. It's very simplistic, but really just seeing how we can maximize layout, how we can make the space more efficient for the end user or the client. And also, you know, if someone's not really too keen on doing a whole bathroom remodel,
Yeah.
how can we manipulate the existing to make their end goal what they want?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a few things that we focus on.
Well, everyone, we are about to wrap up episode 2 of season 3. And I want to just thank our guest, Tyler Aunon with TGA Renovated. Tyler, tell us how we can get in touch with you, or how my
course.
guests can get in touch with
So
you.
if you look on our website, tgarenovated.com, you'll be able to find a contact card on that and reach out, and we'll be happy to walk your project and kind of teach you what you can do with your space and price out anything that you need.
Fantastic. I'll also have information on how to contact Tyler in the show notes. Make sure you like this video and you subscribe to our channel. This is Kamilah Peebles Brathwaite with Real Charlotte Living. Until next time.